I ask that all members rise for the playing of O Canada in the memory of a former speaker, the Honourable Alfie MacLeod. May be seated. Order. Daily routine, presenting and reading petitions. Presenting reports of committees. I recognize the Honourable Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As Chair of the Committee on Public Bills, I'm directed to report that the committee has met and considered the following bills. Bill number 127, an act to protect Nova Scotians. Bill number 130, an act respecting highways and traffic safety. Bill number 134, an act respecting the administration of justice. Bill number 137, an act respecting regulatory burden reduction and service efficiency to enable economic growth. Bill number 141, an act respecting municipal modernization. And Bill number 144, an act to amend Chapter 10 of the Acts of 1994-1995, the Workers' Compensation Act.
Ordered that these bills be referred to the Committee of the Whole House on Bills. Tabling reports, regulations, and other papers. Statements by ministers. Government notice of motion. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Speaker, I hereby give notice that on a future day I shall move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas on Monday, September 29th, we recognize Medic Monday in Nova Scotia, a day dedicated to celebrating the nearly 1,300 paramedics across the province who are always there when our communities need them. And whereas, whether on the front lines or supporting behind the scenes, paramedics make a difference every day in the lives of Nova Scotians. And whereas paramedics do more than just respond to emergencies, they work in clinical education, research, quality improvement, leadership roles, and closely with other healthcare professionals to advance healthcare and support patients. Therefore, be it resolved that all members of this House recognize and celebrate the contribution and sacrifices paramedics make every day to keep Nova Scotians safe. Speaker, I ask for a waiver of notice and passage without debate.
There has been a request for a waiver. Is it agreed? Agreed. It is agreed. Would all those in favour of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. Introductions of bills. I recognize the Honourable Member for Lunenburg West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to introduce an act entitled An Act to Dissolve the Bridgewater Museum Commission.
Let's do it. The Honourable Member for Lunenburg West begs leave to introduce a bill entitled the Act to Dissolve the Bridgewater Museum Commission.
Bill number 156, an act to dissolve the Bridgewater Museum Commission.
Ordered that the bill be read a second time on a future day. I recognize the honourable member for Lunenburg West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 108 of the Acts of 1954, the LaHave and District Fire Department Act.
The honourable member for Lunenburg West begs leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 108 of the Acts of 1954, the LaHave and District Fire Department Act.
Bill number 157, an act to amend Chapter 108 of the Acts of 1954, the LaHave and District Fire Department Act.
Ordered that the bill be read a second time on a future day. Notices of motion. Statements by members. I recognize the honourable member for Truro, Bible Hill, Millbrook, Salmon River.
Madam Speaker, today I rise to talk about the importance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, which is September 30th. This is a day to recognize a painful chapter in our national history, along with the continuing impacts of residential schools. We honor the memory of the Indigenous children who were taken from their families and never returned home. We pay tribute to the resilience, dignity, and strength of the survivors and their families. Also called Orange Shirt Day as a tribute to Phyllis Webstead, a survivor whose orange shirt was taken from her on her first day at a residential school. This day is an opportunity to learn and reflect. By wearing an orange shirt and engaging in community events, learning together and supporting Indigenous-led initiatives, we actively participate in a journey of mutual respect and understanding. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have no doubt that in the days to come, many will speak about the very sad passing of parliamentarian Alfie MacLeod earlier today, in particular the two other party leaders who would have known him better than I did. But I was lucky enough to serve with Alfie in opposition, and he was a legend. He was a legend in this House. He was a legend in Cape Breton. He was funny. He was sharp. He sometimes took naps. He advocated very passionately for his community, in particular for the New Boston Road. And we haven't heard this much, but Alfie also was a disabled member and did a lot for accessibility in this chamber, and it never slowed him down even an inch. So on behalf of my caucus, we're very sad to hear of Alfie's passing. We send our love to his friends and family. My thoughts are with them, and he will certainly be missed. He was a giant.
I recognize the honourable member for Timberley Prospect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I also served alongside Alfie MacLeod for a couple of terms, and I got to sit right next to him over there when our caucus got large enough to put some people on this side of the House. And as a young MLA at the time, I did learn quite a bit from him. He was certainly an impactful speaker. He was great at question period, and nobody had the passion that he exhibited here for the island. So he was like a grizzly bear, but also I'd say a Care Bear too. He was larger than life, but he was a softie too. Couple memories. He used to take me to the Twin Rivers Park in his riding, wildlife park. He said it was near and dear to his heart. So there was that, and also the Gabaroos Wilderness area. There was a trail that I helped designate there. So he was a fighter for his local community, and I think it might seem small, but I think the best MLAs really pay attention to the small, the local stuff. So he was one kind of a guy, and I want to just say our condolences are with Shirley and Sandra, of course, who I messaged last night, and all that were close to him. So rest in peace to the big guy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Eastern Passage.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to pay tribute to one of my mentors, Alfie McLeod. A couple of the lessons that I learned from him was if you were going to get thrown out of the legislature, do it on a Friday morning so you could head home early in the day. I haven't exercised that right yet, but I still might. Second thing was he and I were the only ones that drank Diet Pepsi. So I always brought an extra can for him. And the third was to always buy supper because he would eat whatever I didn't finish. So those were very important things. But I remember telling him how excited I was in the legislature. And he said, oh, that'll get old. But Alfie, it never did get old. I'm still as excited to be here. But we certainly, as a caucus, are going to miss you greatly. And our condolences to your family. Thank you very much.
I recognize the honourable member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
It's a sad day in Cape Breton as we woke to the news of Alfie McLeod's passing. Alfie was a giant in Cape Breton, known by all, and could be counted on as for an auctioneer at any community event. Booming voice, that man. He was a gentleman, kind, funny, and always with a twinkle in his eye. You know that twinkle. It's about to get funny here. You're about to get in some trouble. He loved Cape Breton. He loved the people. He loved supporting their causes, including one that's near and dear to both our hearts, Horizon Achievement Center. Although Alfie and I had different political leanings, those differences never stopped us from coming together on issues that affected our beloved Cape Breton, including a campaign to save our healthcare services. Alfie was one of those people who believed politics stopped at the water's edge or at Swiss Chalet when we were having a meal with our families. My last memory of him was explaining to my girls how he lost his leg in only the way Alfie can, with a smile and a joke. My love goes out to Shirley, his children, his grandchildren, and all who loved him. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Timberley Prospect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tomorrow is Truth and Reconciliation Day here in Nova Scotia. Across our province, people are wearing orange shirts to honor survivors of residential schools, their families, and the children who never made it home. This day is a solemn reminder of the harmful legacy of residential schools. It calls on each of us to listen, to learn, and to reflect on what reconciliation truly means. Madam Speaker, symbols like orange shirts matter, but reconciliation requires more than symbolism. It demands action, accountability, and a commitment to doing better. We must all do our part to ensure that future generations inherit a more equal and just province. To the survivors, families, and Indigenous communities, we honor you today and every day. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member of Annapolis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to congratulate and thank Heather Baxter of Heather's Independent Grocer in Middleton for her incredible generosity and community spirit. Heather is a dedicated small business owner and a wonderful volunteer in our little community. Her initiative was rightly recognized with the nomination for the prestigious Provincial Volunteer Award. Most recently, during the devastating Long Lake fires, Heather selflessly donated cases of chicken to multiple organizations. This critical donation helped to feed the brave firefighters and first responders working tirelessly to protect our forests and our homes. Heather Baxter exemplifies the very best of Nova Scotia's community spirit. I ask all members to join me in thanking her for her profound commitment to serving others. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax, Chebucto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction relative to my colleague's member statement.
Please do.
Thank you. I would like to extend a warm welcome to my constituent, Sarah Emsley, and that is, by the way, Sarah with an H, as she writes that she is as devoted to that H as Anne of Green Gables is to that E. Sarah is an author, a dedicated community member who shares beautiful scenes from our home province in her weekly newsletter. Please join me in welcoming Sarah to the House.
Welcome, welcome. We hope you enjoy your time here. I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I now have the honor to recognize Dr. Emsley, an academic and published author who has just released her debut novel, The Austins. Since receiving her PhD from Dalhousie University, Sarah has held a fellowship at Oxford University and taught in the writing program at Harvard University. She is passionate about literature, most specifically Jane Austen, Edith Wharton, and Ellen Montgomery. Sarah is active in creating opportunities for the entire community to learn about Jane Austen. The whole world is celebrating the 250th anniversary of Austen's birth, and Sarah recently hosted a well-attended celebration in the Halifax Public Gardens, where even some of us donned Regency clothes, and is just back from the Cavendish Writers' Festival, where she continues to share her work. Her novel, The Austins, centers strong women that choose art, love, and freedom over following the status quo. I ask the House to applaud Dr. Emsley as she takes this important step in her career and contributes vitally to literature in Atlantic Canada.
I recognize the honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to Louis Boudreau, who passed away just last week. And Louis was a staple in the Richmond County business community and across the Strait region for many years, running the Cozy Corner in St. Peter's with his sister Shirley since 1972. It had become a very popular family-run business, with so many people in Richmond County and Port Hawkesbury experiencing his excellent locally prepared meals both at the restaurant and at various community events that he catered. Those who know Louis best talk about a legacy of his generous nature. Louis supported local events and sports teams. He provided gas money for young people to get to school and helped out those who just needed a few extra dollars. No one has ever been turned away from a meal at his restaurant, even those who couldn't pay. Madam Speaker, I ask members of this legislature to please join me in honoring Louis Boudreau as we pass along his condolences to his wife, Loretta, his entire family, and his many friends. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction relative to my member statement.
Please do.
Joining us in the gallery today are several members of the Carellan community who helped organize Kerala Fest this past August. And so as I introduce you, I ask you to rise and say hello. Father Darius Cherian, Seven Jose, Aaron Jose, Vimel Joy, and Anne Matthew. Welcome to everyone.
Welcome, welcome to the House. We hope you enjoy your time here. I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize a significant milestone for the Carellan community in Nova Scotia. I want to take a moment to congratulate all the organizers on Kerala Fest for their amazing success this past August. I had the chance to go to the event myself with my colleague from Halifax Needham, and it was an amazing experience. Although Kerala is a small state in India, the community here is anything but. The festival boasted vibrant cultural programs and the powerful beats of Chenda Melam. For a day, Nova Scotia felt like Kerala, like being home for so many. For other folks, like myself, it was a chance to try amazing food, hear the traditional language, and enjoy music and dance. I ask all members to congratulate the organizers behind this event for all of their hard work and dedication to uplifting and bringing together their community. This was only the first Kerala Fest of Nova Scotia, and I hope to see them for many years to come.
I recognize the honourable member for Inverness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize the farm in Glenville, a delightful small farm tucked between Mabu and Inverness. Operated by Nikki, her husband Douglas, and their retired greyhound Bob, better known as the Chief Snoopervisor, this farm is a true farm-to-table dream. They handcraft preserves, confections, and chocolates and use what they grow, with favorites like their blueberry jam and the Very Berry Jam created after Hurricane Fiona. Since starting in 2020, the farm in Glenville has expanded from sugar-free creations to a wide range of wholesome products, all made with natural farming methods. Their goods can be found online at markets across Nova Scotia and each season at the Mabu Farmers Market, where they are a local favorite. I'm proud to share that the farm in Glenville is also a valued member of the Nova Scotia Loyal Program, helping showcase the very best of our province's homegrown craftsmanship. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction related to my member statement.
Please do.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to welcome to the People's House President Dolores Bezanson, Registrar Kathy Martin, and Life Member and Feed the Need Coordinator Nancy M. Archibald. All three of these wonderful leaders are here on behalf of the Connect Club of Sackville. I invite the House to express a warm welcome.
Welcome to the House. We hope you enjoy your time here, and apparently member statement. I recognize the honourable member for Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to honor Sackville's Connects, a group of tireless volunteers who have proven themselves a fixture of community organizing in Sackville to the point that it seems wherever a charitable event is held, the Connects can be found close by. They are an integral link between the people who make up our community and the organizations that support them. Whether through a dance, a round of bingo, or a local artist market, the Connects are experts at mobilizing generosity and directing it where it's needed most. This summer, the Connects made an important donation to the Cobequid Community Health Center Foundation in the form of 5 Leatherman Raptor rescue tools, combination seatbelt cutter, glass breaker, ring cutter, and more. They were also indispensable in organizing this year's Feed the Need food drive. It's with great pride and admiration that I announce that this past weekend, the Connects and Kinsmen raised $115 and 25 banana boxes worth of food for the Feed the Need food drive. I humbly request all those present join me in congratulating these irreplaceable volunteers on their success and their cornerstone role in making Sackville a brilliant place to live. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize Suzanne Kane, a dedicated mother and author, for sharing her deeply personal journey with her book titled Life with a Twist of Lyme, Haley's Story, A Mother's Memoir. This heartfelt, emotional memoir chronicles her daughter Haley's battle with Lyme disease and subsequent passing at age 16, and the many challenges their family faced in seeking answers, treatment, and support. Through resilience, determination, and love, Suzanne has become an advocate for Lyme disease awareness, shedding light on an illness that affects so many, yet remains widely misunderstood. Her book is not only a tribute to Haley's strength, but also a vital resource for families navigating similar struggles. By sharing her story, Suzanne offers hope, encouragement, and a call for a greater understanding of Lyme disease. I ask all members of this House to join me in applauding Suzanne Kane for her courage, her advocacy, and contribution to raising awareness about Lyme disease in our province and beyond. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Speaker. I beg leave to make an introduction related to my member statement.
Please do.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With us today are President Todd North, National President of Kin Canada and past President of the Sackville Kinsmen, Patrick Bowers, Secretary Xander Thibault, Life Member Jerry Archibald, Director Mark Simons, and Member Kazim Janadu. They're all here with me today from the Kinsmen Club of Sackville. I invite the House to extend them a warm welcome.
Welcome to the House. We hope you enjoy your time here. I recognize the honourable member for Sackville-Cobequid.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today to celebrate a true force for good in Sackville and one of our 2 exemplary chapters of Kin Canada, Sackville's Kinsmen. For over 6 decades, the Kidsmen have been a foundational part of charitable organizing in Sackville. Their acts of generosity are too numerous to list, as are the litany of donation events they have backed and organized over generations. However, special note must be made of their recent donation of gift cards to 200 people impacted by the recent apartment fire on Hanwell Drive. I'd also be remiss if I didn't share my excitement for the upcoming Kinsman Community Bowl, a high school varsity football game which raises funds for university entrance scholarships, and Canada's Feed the Need food drive, which wrapped up this past weekend. Speaker, I ask all those in attendance to join me in thanking the Kinsmen for their long-standing love for our community, which they demonstrate often with sincere acts of selflessness and care. Thank you so much.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour Dartmouth.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, today I rise to recognize Selby's Bunker, a cafe and gift shop in my constituency. Since 2019, they've been a wonderful asset to Cole Harbour, with more than 70% of goods at the store sourced from Atlantic Canadian businesses. I was very pleased to meet the owner, Jason Selby, in early August, and it is obvious that he cares about his business and the community as a whole. Thank you, Jason, on behalf of the residents of Cole Harbour Dartmouth, for your care and commitment to sourcing local, as well as serving up beverages and snacks that just can't be matched. I ask this House to please join me in thanking Jason Selby and Selby's Bunker for their fantastic service to our community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for for Halifax Armdale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Over the last 39 years, I've had the tremendous privilege to work in Indigenous communities in 3 provinces and 2 territories. I've seen the challenges of unsafe drinking water, overcrowding, tuberculosis, suicide, and the trauma of residential school. But I've also, and I'm reminded of this, seen resilience and courage of Indigenous peoples to overcome that. And I pay tribute to an elder who taught me a lot, Sagia Senawap, that facing the adversity that he overcame of trauma of residential school, he still had the ability to look past that and smile and tell me a great joke. So today, Sagias, I say thank you, Miigwech.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Atlantic.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our community was hit hard this weekend with tragedy when young Fraser Lake passed away. Madam Speaker, I'd like to take a moment and send my love and support to Tracy and Roy and the entire Lake family. I can't imagine losing a son. What I know is this: they are an incredible family, incredible parents who raised an outstanding young man. Words cannot help or replace the pain, but know that we all support you and the family. Rest in peace, Fraser.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize the many organizations who have put on festivals and events and gatherings throughout the summer. I have personally attended them, and I had a wonderful time eating, dancing, listening to music, and watching amazing performances. I want to shout out to a few: Emerging Lens Cultural Film Festival, the Italian Canadian Cultural Center, New Horizons Baptist Church, Brilliant Labs, SJM School, Truro Middle School, St. Stephen's School, Highland Park Junior High, Bicentennial School, Nova Scotia Authors and Publishers, Lung NSPEI, Black Culture Center, Akuma, Air Cadets and Sea Cadets, Emotep Legacy Academy, ANSJI, Mulgrave Park Caring Learning Center, Inclusion Nova Scotia, Hope Blooms, Family Over Fame, North by Night Market, Royal Artillery Park, Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, Phoenix Youth and Community Center, Shelter Nova Scotia, NSCC, MSVU, Alliance Française at Halifax, NEBA, Afriville, CARP, AfriFest, JCANS, Northwestern, Multifest, Fruits of Our Labor, and that's just to name a few. I'd like to congratulate all of those folks who have done hard work to get their festivals on the go. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour.
Madam Speaker, today I would like to recognize Amy McIsaac, owner of the Dartmouth Book Exchange. Independently owned and operated since 1998, the Dartmouth Book Exchange has provided quality and affordable reading options for the Cole Harbour community for more than a quarter of a century. With books for children and adults and with children's literature in both English and French, Ms. McIsaac has a respected business that encourages and facilitates increased literacy for the community. In addition to providing a space for reading, the Dartmouth Book Exchange takes pride in being a space that promotes the work of local authors and their art. Madam Speaker, businesses like the Dartmouth Book Exchange are essential for independent learning and encouraging creativity in the community. Thanks to them for everything that they do for our community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Madam Speaker, every summer I am happy to host Dartmouth North's annual Pride Party. Born out of a moment of violence, the party is a chance to celebrate queer joy and show that everyone is welcome in Dartmouth North. Traditionally, this event has been held at the Dartmouth North Public Library and Community Centre, but as a result of the flooding that occurred in the library in the spring, that wasn't an option. The North Grove generously opened their doors to the party and offered to hold the party in their space. I would like to take this time to recognize and express my gratitude to Carolee McDaniel and Kelly Edwards for helping to coordinate our efforts, as well as the North Grove staff, Sonia, Marley, Andrea, Amanda, Yuki, Maria, Kath, Rose, and volunteers Marion, Marilia, and Kristen. I would also like to thank Chris for his help setting up the barbecue, and Jess for leading the charge on a beautiful display of cupcakes that were made into a pride flag. It was stunningly beautiful and very delicious. North Grove does incredibly important work, and I'm grateful for their collaboration and commitment to this very important event. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Clare.
Madam President, today I would like to congratulate Atlantic Online Fairlead Marketing Inc. for their 25 years in business. This digital agency based in Church Point provides a wide range of bilingual digital marketing services. Their website, atlanticonline.ca, has grown from a local rural initiative into a renowned digital marketing agency serving clients across Canada and the eastern seaboard of the United States. Founder Shelley Bellefontaine and her team provide high-quality services for a variety of industries, from tourism to fisheries to professional services to mental health and wellness. You can always catch Shelley at various events in the community with a great big welcoming smile on her face, ready to help anyone in need. Congratulations to Shelley and her team and all your success. Thank you. Merci, Madame Presidente.
I recognize the honourable member for Fairview Clayton Park.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today to recognize the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and to honor the survivors of residential schools, their families, and their communities. Here in Mi'kma'ki, reconciliation cannot mean making unilateral decisions about land, water, and resources without thorough and meaningful consultation. This is not a box to be checked. It is a recognition of the inherent rights and jurisdiction of the Mi'kmaq people. This day is a call to move beyond words. The Truth and Reconciliations Commission calls to action gives us the roadmap. Today, tomorrow, and always, we urge this government to adhere to their constitutional duty to consult and to ensure that no decisions are made without free, prior, and informed consent in a way that honors treaty rights and the spirit of reconciliation. This is how we build a future rooted in true peace and friendship. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Cumberland South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to make an introduction.
Please do.
Madam Speaker, it's a joy, as many of the people in the House have met my two older boys. It's a joy today to present to the House for her first visit while the House is sitting. My 9-year-old daughter, Briar's here so please stand.
Welcome to the House, Briar. We hope you enjoy your time here today and your drive home with your dad. I recognize the honourable member for Cumberland South.
Madam Speaker, Briar is a 9-year-old, bright, beautiful girl and brights up our lives for sure. But Madam Speaker, she entered grade 4 this year. She just wrapped up a summer season of baseball. She's anxious to get back on the basketball court as a fierce basketball player, which comes from a family of two brothers that play hockey and have taught her how to roughhouse. I won't say this too loud, but she might have almost got fouled out in one of her first games this year, basketball. But fierce competitor. But Madam Speaker, she was excited to come down today where it was a PD day at school. Get to see Dad at work, see how part of the legislature goes. But also, Madam Speaker, she also brought the tablet, just in case things got boring, she said. But Madam Speaker, it's a pleasure to have Briar here with me. It really tips the hat when you get to go home on Friday afternoon and see a bright, smiling face like that. So, love you, Briar.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to join my colleagues in acknowledging tomorrow, September 30th, as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The day we honor the survivors of the residential school system and remember those who never made it home. Recognizing the painful history of Indigenous communities and their impact is an important part of reconciliation, but it must be followed with action. Many of the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada call on provincial governments to act. There is work to be done in reducing the number of Indigenous children in care, the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the justice system, and access to post-secondary education for Indigenous students. This day serves as a reminder of the importance of reconciliation and an opportunity to learn about the rich cultural heritage of the Mi'kmaq people and their ongoing contributions. I encourage my fellow members to spend time in community and consider the ways that we, as representatives, can contribute to the act of reconciliation.
I recognize the honourable member for Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Memory Lane Heritage Village, the anchor attraction of Lake Charlotte, on their recent 25th anniversary. Memory Lane opened their doors for the first time on July 1st, 2000, and it is a living history museum dedicated to the authentic recreation of a 1940s coastal village. You will find 18 restored buildings, hands-on activities, and an iconic 1948 international pickup that offers rides around the village. Madam Speaker, it is truly like stepping back in time. The village and its sister organization, the Eastern Shore Archives, are community-owned and supported by more than 150 active volunteers, including 15 youth. They often say it takes a village to keep this village going. The museum hosts a number of signature events each year, such as the Coldwater Seafood Festival and the Nova Scotia Forest Festival, and they are enjoyed by more than 13,000 visitors each year. Madam Speaker, I ask all members of the legislature to join me in thanking all of the volunteers and supporters over the past 25 years who have made Memory Lane Heritage Village such an iconic place to visit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize a yearly event that happens in our community called the Crown Basketball Tournament. It's a chance for local basketball players, young and old, to compete against their peers. The aim of the tournament is to connect people from all walks of life, with basketball tying it all together. To have a good time cheering on family and teams of youth playing this wonderful game of basketball. I was able to attend this year, and no, I was not playing basketball, and the energy and competition was remarkable. I love me some good basketball and watching the competition, especially the girls play. It's always a time for me to spend with my family, and that's what the tournament's about. I'd like all members to join me in celebrating a successful tournament this year, and hopefully year after year this will continue on. And I'd like to thank the organizers, the Crown Basketball Society and Family Over Fame, for all their hard work and continuing on year after year. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Bedford South.
Madam Speaker, 5 years ago, I was introduced by a friend to a brand new butcher shop and restaurant in our community called Grillway and Catering. It was started by Wasil Al-Masalme, a refugee from Syria who started working at his family's butcher shop in Syria when he was just 10 years old. After struggling to find work, when he arrived in Canada, he decided to chase a lifelong dream and just had to buy and own a restaurant and butcher shop at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, mind you. Despite facing lots of challenges along the way, his hard work paid off. Today, Madam Speaker, I am honored to rise in this House and recognize Grillway and Catering's 5th anniversary of serving delicious food in Bedford South. And I ask everybody here for 2 things. Number 1, help me celebrate this great place. And if you're ever in Bedford South, you've got to pop by and try the combos. They are amazing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today marks 34 years ago that I had a little brother born. My brother Adam was born 34 years ago today. He is at home with our family, celebrating and eating cake, which I'm extremely jealous of at the moment. And my favorite memory of the past year was that I danced with him at my wedding. And he was the best little dancer and surprised me with a beautiful song. He is my angel boy. He is remarkable, and he reminds us every day about compassion and love and understanding. I love you, angel boy. Have a great birthday.
I recognize the honourable member for Antigonish.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize the remarkable students at Dr. J.H. Gillis Regional High School in Antigonish for their incredible efforts in raising over $34,000 for a new pediatric room at St. Martha's Regional Hospital. Each year, these students rally together in support of St. Martha's Regional Hospital Foundation, and this year they went above and beyond. Their dedication, energy, and community spirit were on full display as they organized creative fundraisers around the community for their Relay for St. Martha's. The students have demonstrated leadership, compassion, and the importance of volunteerism. I want to thank student leaders Jenna Beaton, Ava Stewart, and Olivia McDonald for all their hard work on this event. Thank you to everyone who supported these fundraisers and to the local businesses that generously stepped up with donations and support. Madam Speaker, I ask all members of the House to join me in congratulating the students of Dr. J.H. Gillis High School on their outstanding achievement and in thanking them for their contribution to St. Martha's Hospital and for the well-being of the entire Antigonish region. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to wish a very happy 50th wedding anniversary to Sylvia and Robert Anthony of Dartmouth. Sylvia has been a longtime fixture of Dartmouth North. She is the co-founder of the Dartmouth Echo and a stalwart member of several community groups. But with half a century under their belts, her marriage to Robert has been her most consistent long-term collaboration. Robert and Sylvia attended the same church for some time in their youth, but it wasn't until Robert needed an ace on his bowling team and caught wind of Sylvia's talents that the two truly hit it off. The couple celebrated 50 years of matrimony with a Saturday afternoon open house just this weekend, and that event also marked Sylvia's 86th birthday. As Robert is also known as Birthday Bob because for years he has been calling people to sing sweetly happy birthday to them on their birthdays. I would imagine that his birthday song to Sylvia on Saturday was extra sweet. I would ask the House to join me in congratulating Sylvia and Robert on 50 wonderful years together, and happy birthday to Sylvia. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Northside Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize a remarkable milestone in the community of Northside Westmount, the 100th anniversary of the Northern Yacht Club. Since 1924, the Northern Yacht Club has been a fixture on our beautiful harbor, serving not only as a gathering place for boaters and sailors, but also as a hub of community spirit and fellowship. For a century, it has welcomed generations of families, fostered a love of sailing, and provided opportunities for youth to learn valuable skills on the water. Madam Speaker, the Northern Yacht Club is more than a boating facility. It's a community institution. Through events, regattas, and volunteer efforts, it has strengthened bonds within our community and showcased the hospitality and pride of Cape Breton. As the Northern Yacht Club celebrates its 100th anniversary, I ask all members of this House to join me in congratulating its members, past and present, and in wishing them continued success in the next 100 years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Fairview Clayton Park.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today to celebrate the incredible diversity of cuisines available in Fairview Clayton Park. You can find everything from shawarma and roti to fresh pita bread, African and Caribbean dishes, South and East Asian flavors, halal grocery stores, alongside familiar Nova Scotian favorites. These local businesses are more than just places to eat or shop. They are gathering spaces where people share culture, pass down traditions, and welcome neighbors from every background. These restaurants and groceries show the strength of our multicultural community and remind us that food has the power to connect us. Whether it is a family trying something new or newcomers finding a taste of home, these businesses help make our riding vibrant, welcoming, and proud of its diversity. Speaker, please join me in recognizing the restaurant owners, grocers, and staff who nourish our bodies, our souls, and our sense of community. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Colchester North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to recognize the Dominion Chair Company General Store in Bass River, established in 1890. The store was built across the road from the Dominion Chair factory where Bass River chairs were produced. The store has become a meeting place for the community. Where you walk through the door, you're met with creaky floorboards and a feeling that you've stepped back in time. Madam Speaker, some people go there for a morning cup of coffee and maybe a wee bit of the local gossip, while others go to pick up cake mixes or plumbing supplies. You never know what you may find there. They have it all, including a very friendly staff. Madam Speaker, Jim Grew, a direct descendant of the founder, became involved with the store in 1979. In 1992, Jim and a partner bought the store, and since then they have maintained the varied stock and the welcoming atmosphere. Madam Speaker, I want to commend the Dominion Chair Company store for providing so many services to the rural community of Bass River and beyond. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Waverley Fall River Beaverbank.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today I'm thrilled to announce the remarkable achievement of Ben Marsh, a talented soccer player from Fall River who has signed a development contract with the Halifax Wanderers. At just 16 years old, Ben's journey in soccer has been nothing short of inspiring, following an impressive 2024 season with Suburban FC and the Wanderers under-21 team. Ben's dedication and skill earned him the title of Wanderers U21's Young Player of the Year, reflecting his growth and potential within his sport. His commitment to challenging himself in a professional environment has been recognized by the Wanderers coaching staff, who see great promise in his future. As a member of Nova Scotia's Canada Games program, Ben has already made a significant impact, scoring the winning goal against Ipswich Town U21 during the 2024 International Summer Series. His ability to play multiple positions and his keen sense for goal make him a valuable addition to the first team squad. We're excited to see Ben's continued growth and success as he represents our community on the field. His dedication exemplifies the spirit of our youth, and we wish him all the best in his new chapter of his soccer journey. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for King South.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Floyd Priddle, who has been a dedicated member of Scouts Canada and Wolfville Scouting since 2014. Over the years, Floyd has been recognized for his outstanding service, receiving the Medal for Good Service in Bar, and now the Medal of Merit, a testament to his hard work, leadership, and devotion to the Scouting community. Floyd has been a long-standing cornerstone of the Beaver Colony, an advisor with Venturers, and has served as chair of the Sunken Lake Committee, where his leadership and guidance were invaluable. Floyd is known as a leader who takes initiative and embraces new opportunities. He is well respected and appreciated by all the Scouts and volunteers he works alongside. Please join me in congratulating Floyd for his diligence, leadership, and lasting commitment to Scouts Canada and to the youth of Wolfville and surrounding communities. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Colchester-Musquodoboit Valley.
Madam Speaker, imagine being 15 years old, attending the Canada Games with players 3, 4, and 5 years older than yourself, and then making the national U18 men's softball team. Because that's exactly what young Cooper Singer has done. But not only did he make the team, 4 of his teammates made the team. Roden Van Tassel, Keegan Maguire, Ryan Sutherland, and his brother Will Singer. The first time in Canadian history that 5 players from Nova Scotia made the team, and they're all from one community in Brookfield and play for the Brookfield Elks. They are leaving on Wednesday morning to attend the Pan American U18 Championships, representing Nova Scotia on that team. They'll be playing in Argentina. 15 years old, going to Argentina, wearing Canada across his chest with his 4 teammates. Good luck, Cooper. Good luck, guys. Go, Canada, go.
I recognize the honourable member for Hammonds Plains, Lucasville.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize the incredible achievement of one of Nova Scotia's own, Hammonds Plains native Brad Marchand, who once again etched his name in hockey history. This year, after being a late-day addition to the trade deadline, Brad hoisted the Stanley Cup as a member of the Florida Panthers, adding yet another chapter to an already remarkable NHL career. Known for his grit, skill, and unmatched competitive spirit, Brad has long been a fan favorite and a fierce competitor on the ice. With this championship, he not only proved his leadership and experience, but brought his hockey pride back to the province again this year. From his early days playing minor hockey here in Nova Scotia to his years as an NHL All-Star, Four Nations IIHF World Cup gold medalist, and Stanley Cup champion, Brad has shown the next generation that his work ethic, resilience, and passion can take you to the very top. Congratulations, Brad, and the entire Florida Panthers organization. Nova Scotia is proud of you.
I recognize the honourable member for Lunenburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to recognize the Fairy Trails of Mahone Bay, a delightful new interactive art installation featuring more than 70 fairy cottages, gnome homes, pixie paths, brownie bridges, and nymphian nests. Madam Speaker, I attended the grand opening of the Fairy Trails last June, and it was so special to see this all come alive. I invite members to visit the trails, especially during these next couple of weeks as Mahone Bay celebrates its annual Scarecrow Festival, and enjoy the many sweet surprises along the way. Thank you to the Fairy Trails Society of Mahone Bay for creating this wonderful bit of whimsy for kids and grown-ups alike and putting a smile on the faces of all visitors. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Eastern Passage.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to bring recognition to the Eastern Passage Summer Carnival Committee, including members Cindy Morash, Stephen Moore, Laurie Moore, Abby Gerard, Jose Gosby, Tommy Harms, Elizabeth Warwick, Candice Euler, Kathy Silver, Peter Gill, Tammy Noggle, Louise Henman-Poirier, Nancy Jakeman, Lily Jakeman, and Rachel Cadlick. August 2025 marked our 50th year of this carnival, and the entire community was excited to spend a week-long lineup of events that we treasure from our younger years. Ever popular events like the car show, the MLA Seniors Tea, and the Sandcastle competition are just to name a few. We're fabulous again this year. Spectacular fireworks were postponed, but they'll be coming soon, Madam Speaker, which we're also thrilled about. This group has created a community tradition that everyone plans in their calendar every year. I ask all members of the Nova Scotia Legislature to join me in recognizing the tremendous work of the Eastern Passage Summer Carnival Committee, past and present, for their steadfast dedication to enhancing our community for the past 50 years. And here's to the next 50. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Clayton Park West.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I just quickly do a quick introduction?
Please do.
I recognize Kazim Junado. I said him earlier on. He's the Public Relations Officer for Egbelmo Yoruba, which is a cultural group in Nigeria. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Hoping for your time. I recognize the honourable member for Clayton Park West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just quickly rise today to thank Flanger Foods of Halifax. That's the owners, Olakunle and Wura Fakiesi, the co-owners of Flanger Foods. It's an African grocery store and bakery, opened their first location in 2019 after struggling to find African foods and beauty products when they moved to Canada in the year 2016. A very special thanks go out to the couple and for their generous gift in providing a $500 to jumpstart the Halifax West High School Donald Ducksworth Community Service Award. This award is intended to honor the legacy of Donald Ducksworth, whose incredible dedication to our community has inspired so many people. Madam Speaker, I would like to say a big thank. I would like to ask all members of the House to join me in thanking the Fakiesis of Flanger Foods for their generous contribution into that award. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Guysborough-Trackney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to express heartfelt thanks to two dedicated community leaders, Miles and Elizabeth Conley, who recently stepped down for their longtime roles running the Guysborough Area Food Bank. For 20 years, Miles and Elizabeth have been the steady hands and compassionate hearts behind this vital organization. Their tireless efforts ensure that individuals and families facing difficult times could rely on the food bank for support, dignity, and care. This dedication earned a Standard of Excellence designation from Food Banks Canada in 2024. Whether it was organizing food drives, donations, managing day-to-day operations, or lending a listening ear to those in need, the Conleys gave generously of their time and energy, always putting the needs of their clients first. Miles and Elizabeth always went above and beyond to make sure that everyone who asked was provided for. Even on days when the food bank was closed, Miles would go in or deliver food if needed. Much more could be said, Madam Speaker, but I will surely run out of time. I ask that members of this legislature join me in thanking Miles and Elizabeth Conley, who have certainly made a difference with the Guysborough Area Food Bank. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. We have, where it's Monday, there are no oral questions put by members to the minister, so we will move on to government business. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would you please call order of business, public bills and orders?
Public bills and orders. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Madam Speaker, would you please call public bills for second reading?
Public bills for second reading. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Madam Speaker, would you please call bill number 149?
Bill 149, Powering the Offshore Act. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move that Bill 149, the Powering the Offshore Act, be now read a second time. And I want to thank staff at the Department of Energy for their hard work on this bill. And I will have more to say as the bill moves through the legislative process, and I look forward to comments from my colleagues.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Dartmouth South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm happy to stand up today and speak about Bill 149, Powering the Offshore Act. It's an important topic, as we all know, and it's about the future of power generation in our province. We know that Nova Scotians want clean, green energy that they can afford, and the offshore wind sector holds a lot of promise. There is a chance to harness our renewable resources, strengthen our grid, create new green jobs, and lower power bills, and there's no better time than now. I look forward to hearing what stakeholders say in public bills, Madam Speaker, so I'll reserve the rest of my comments until then. Thank you.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Timberley Prospect.
Yeah, that's good. I need the podium. I think I'm... Hey, thank you, thank you. Actually, will be longer than the last two. Not too long, not too long. Okay. No, this is an important piece of legislation, so I thought we'd get a little bit more of the minister on the first round, but I do want to pose a few questions, comments, concerns to the minister on the second reading. So we're talking about what could be the largest industrial project in the province's history here. with this act and future regulations. So if done right and not rushed, I think this is a massive opportunity that we can support. But we need more than just the ambition. We support a vision of harnessing offshore winds to create jobs, lower emissions, and secure prosperity. But the execution is important. So the government's talking about $60 billion of investment for 5 gigawatts. So that's about $40 billion in the turbines alone and another 20 in transmission. So I want to start there with the scale that the government's talking about. The Premier's talking about 66 gigawatts of offshore wind potential. And when we have a peak demand here of just 2 gigawatts, that gives a picture of really how large they're aspiring to build this massive opportunity. And I hear about markets in Ontario, markets in Quebec, and New England. That's what I'm hearing from the government. That all entirely depends on massive investment in transmission and subsea cables. All this doesn't exist today. So that's the number one challenge I think that's needing to be highlighted with this bill, because transmission used to be just a small percentage of these projects and costs. Now they're 20% of the cost. So I know the government likes to talk about Wind West and finally twinning the intertie, but we need a lot more than that. We need high voltage lines that go into these new areas and markets, to Quebec, to Ontario. And one of the things I will note is that while we're talking about this long-term project, Quebec is literally tendering gigawatt scales of onshore wind that is much cheaper. Multiple gigawatts are out for tender right now that will be built way quicker than this. So I question the market readiness. Maybe the minister can comment on some of the readiness of these markets. Ontario is actually greenlit in advance of this project for the nation-building projects for small nuclear module reactors. And those are billion-dollar projects. So until we have firm funding and certainty over markets, I don't mind being one of the few saying that I'm concerned about stranded assets out in the ocean with energy, with gigawatts of clean power and nowhere to go with it. We're talking about the first round being ready in 2033. So where will these markets be in, not now, but 2033? And then 7 years later, in the 2040s, is when we're talking about the scale of 15 gigawatts. The 2040s. So what concerns me really is cost more than anything else. We look at recent massive projects in the history of this province. The record's not good for cost overruns. So is it the taxpayers, is it the ratepayers, or are we looking at developers actually assuming some of the risk? Maybe the minister could comment on that. So I've actually been able to visit sites. Just last year, I was on site at Sparrows Point Steel in Maryland, and I was actually able to see what readiness looks like. They had deck space to fabricate massive foundations. They had marshalling yards for towers and blades. They had heavy lift cranes and deep water access for specialized vehicles. And they had platforms and boat landing areas, a full ecosystem ready to launch gigawatt scale offshore projects. And we don't have any of that here in Nova Scotia. So it is my view that before we get out and start commissioning gigawatts of offshore wind, that we need to invest in ports and infrastructure. So I'd like to ask the minister if he could spell out the plan for that infrastructure we need. And also, another part to this is how the sequencing is going to work with all of these sites. So what kind of timeline are we looking at for port readiness and for a single turbine marshalling yard, let alone multiple gigawatts in capacity? In these places like Maryland, they have ready-to-build infrastructure. And I realize that the political climate down there is forcing investment up here. That's a good thing. But that president won't be around forever. And there will be eager investment down south of the border. We're still talking about the 2030s again, which again I'll say is beyond the target to get off coal. This isn't helping getting off coal. None of it will be built or online beyond that target. So
I want to just point to some of the challenges that other jurisdictions have faced globally, and this is my concern with the haste of going out with tendering gigawatts of energy. So in Germany, offshore, this is where it was built probably the fastest, and transmission corridors to bring the power lagged years behind. The result there was the turbines were generating power with nowhere to go, with billions lost. That's something Nova Scotia cannot afford to repeat. And in the UK, developers pulled out of auctions in 2023 because inflation and supply chain costs made projects unviable. Entire projects, once guaranteed, were cancelled. Again, Nova Scotia cannot afford to overpromise capacity if the numbers just don't work for developers. And then closer to home in New England, we have Massachusetts, where developers basically canceled their power purchase agreements. That's happening right here in Nova Scotia with onshore wind, as we referenced in question period, through the Green Choice Program. Those projects could not be financed, and they were years behind schedule. So I just want to point out these concerns in these places. Same thing happened in Rhode Island. So Nova Scotia needs to be careful. I want to highlight a place that did do it well, and that's Denmark, where they actually sequenced first pilots, then commercial scale, ensuring ports were ready, that grids, infrastructure, regulations were all ready before moving forward. And that's why they're a global leader today. And I want to go back to who's going to buy it. Right now, we have Quebec, who is tendering the cheapest form of energy in the country, backed by Hydro-Quebec's vast transmission network, where they have the lowest cost baseload energy. Ontario is expanding its nuclear fleet, and when one thinks of nuclear power, it provides baseload energy at scale, and Ontario is locking in decades of stable, non-emitting generation. If Quebec fills its supply with cheaper onshore wind and Ontario doubles down on nuclear, what is the guaranteed export market for Nova Scotia? Maybe the minister can comment on all the conversations he's having in those markets. And if they aren't, are we assuming that our very trusted American allies will take that in the New England states? What does that U.S. relationship look like? We know developers won't take on the merchant risk, and Nova Scotians cannot be left carrying stranded costs for energy. Developers will not build these projects on speculation. They will require certainty, long-term contracts, firm off-takers, and we know what happens when governments overpromise and underdeliver. So again, Madam Speaker, what safeguards does this government have in place? What commitments can they give Nova Scotians that families and businesses will not be left on the hook if these project collapses and run billions over budget? The government's talking about commissioning in 2032, perhaps 2035, a decade away. Do we have the institutional capacity to manage dozens of simultaneous applications and the regulatory horsepower to keep pace with industry? So I want to be clear, as much as I'm being constructively criticizing some of the pace and some of what the various components are to make sure that we do this right, I do support the direction. I think everyone in the House is behind the opportunity. We want the offshore wind to drive new industries, new jobs, and new opportunities for our people. But let's remember, before this, offshore was about hydrogen for this government. And now it's about export. At least this one has more merit and looks like it will be based on competition. I do really believe that this endeavor requires sequencing. Let's start with limited fixed-based projects in accessible areas that we can build in shallow waters, which take up a proportion of what is being proposed, where you can build investor confidence and then scale to the much more expensive floating offshore wind when you have the ports, when you have the grids, when you have the infrastructure. The figure that was given on the price that the government gave, is that for the more cheap fixed? Or are we talking about what is the cost for the floating right now? Maybe the minister can comment. So where are the export corridors? What is the certainty on that now as we prepare for something that's decades away? I believe the government should be honest about these challenges and the risks and the costs associated with those risks. The government says it wants to unleash Nova Scotia's untapped potential. We agree. But Nova Scotians know this government has a habit of rushing announcements and falling short on delivery. And this time, the stakes are too high. We're talking about tens of billions in investment, generational infrastructure, and the reputation Nova Scotia has on the global stage. So yes, we support the ambition, but we will hold this government to account on transmission, on ports, on industrial readiness, on market certainty, on risk sharing, and above all, on protecting Nova Scotians from paying the price if the plan is saddled with cost overruns. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
If I am to recognize the Honourable Minister of Energy, it would be to close second reading. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I do appreciate the comments from my colleagues from across the aisle, and we'll have more to say as we go through this legislative process. But with that, Madam Speaker, I rise to close debate on Bill 149.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 149, Powering the Offshore Act. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried.
Bill number 149, an act respecting energy.
Ordered that the bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Public Bills. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, would you please call public bills for second reading?
Public bills for second reading.
Speaker, would you please call Bill number 150?
Bill number 150, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to open debate and second reading of Bill 150, Nova Scotia's new Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This bill represents the first full and meaningful modernization of our access and privacy laws in more than 25 years. It achieves balance while delivering benefits to Nova Scotians through practical, thoughtful updates that reflect the realities of a digital world while preserving the fundamental principles of transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, I look forward to hearing debate on this bill, and I will sit now and invite comments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Dartmouth South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Government House Leader. I am going to just say a few words about this bill. I will leave the rest to my colleague and our critic. But I guess I want to note an omission, and that omission is order-making powers for the Privacy Commissioner. Something that those of us who have been in this House for some time on all sides would have heard the current Premier demand for years and years from the sitting government of the day. And so there are good parts of this bill, my colleague will speak to it, but it is a glaring omission. And this is made more acute by the fact that as recently as last week, it was unclear what the rationale was for that, other than it makes things a little more difficult for government. And it does, there's no question. Yeah, there's less control over information, there's less ability to move quickly, but we're in a democracy. And sometimes democracy and speed and control work at cross purposes. But it is firmly my belief that those democratic values should supersede the rest. And, you know, I stood alongside the Premier for years demanding this of the then Liberal government, particularly as the government moved into a second term, as information became harder to get, as the Premier's office became more concentrated, and I feel like we're in the same place. I am, as I said, glad to see things coming forward, but we know that although this bill makes the Privacy Commissioner an officer of the legislature, recommended by the Auditor General, really good move, that does not make their orders enforceable. And I think that this is something that must be on the public record. I am certain we'll hear about it at public bills. We will have more opportunity to talk about it at third reading. But I really want the members of this House to understand what that means. That means that if there is a disagreement between the government and someone whose job it is to protect the interests of the public and their right to know, that the public loses. And we've seen that happen many times. And one time it happened, and it was so outrageous to this government that they, in opposition, took the then government to court because they so vehemently disagreed with the decision of the government of the day. And they protected the public interest, or, you know, in their estimation, and they took the government to court. And I think I just want everyone to remember that, because ultimately the Privacy Commissioner works for the public. Of course, we work for the public too. We all work for the public. That is why we're here. But if there is to be an unbiased assessment of what information should be available to the public, that assessment inarguably is best done by the Privacy Commissioner. And with this update was the opportunity to give that commissioner the powers to act in the public interest in a way that is enforceable, and the government has missed that opportunity. So I hope that as we hear from public bills and we move further along into the stage of amending the bill, that this government will consider not rehashing the points that we heard about orders that the privacy officer made that the government disagreed with, because we've heard, particularly from the media, that many of those claims, in fact, don't seem to be as they've been presented in the past. But that we will hear an honest assessment and hopefully a change of heart when it comes to this. Because if there's anything that this government can do to demonstrate that they are listening to the public, that they have the public's best interests at heart, and in the context of the legislation that we're seeing come forward this session, which is restricting the right to protest, where people are concerned about the lack of consultation, you know, everyone's hearing that. If the government wants to demonstrate a commitment to the public interest, this is a way to do it, and I certainly hope they'll consider it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Timberley Prospect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so there are a number of positive elements in the bill to put stronger breach notification rules. There's also requiring public bodies to keep personal data in Canada. That's all good. And as my colleague mentioned, giving the title of officer to the FOIPOP commissioner. But I think really it misses the mark. It makes it longer now. It gives 35% longer time to actually respond to inquiries. So I think that's a major concern. And also another major concern that experts are pointing out is deleting the purpose of the Act, which is to release all information with limited exceptions. So that's been talked about, combined with the order-making power not being included in the bill. So yet another broken promise. And I think the pattern is still there with what we've seen in the past with the Auditor General that they backtracked on, but other institutions where they looked across the country and they tried to find how they can weaken accountability and transparency. And so that was pointed out from experts that have seen this happen. And so we'll see how the public feels about this in public bills. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the honourable member for Fairview Clayton Park.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm happy to rise today to share some thoughts about Bill 150. First off, I do want to acknowledge that there are some positive changes here. Our freedom of information legislation was overdue for an update, and we're glad to see movement on that. Extending privacy rules to municipalities is a good step, as more transparency at local level helps everyone stay accountable. Making the Privacy Commissioner an officer of the legislature is also an important step forward, but as my colleagues have stated, we are disappointed to see that giving order-making powers to the Commissioner was left out of the legislation. This bill also proposes removing a key section of the law that states its purpose is to release all government information with limited exceptions so that the public can stay informed about decisions made by officials. The Privacy Commissioner himself has expressed concerns, calling these changes significant deletions. We need to give some serious thought to how getting rid of this section will impact how the entire legislation will be put into action. We also have concerns about changing response timelines from calendar days to business days. While this might be helpful in some cases, this extends the timeline for a response and could further slow down public access to information. All in all, there are steps forward in the right direction, but we need to keep aiming for a system where Nova Scotians can get the information that they need quickly and confidently, with the knowledge that the Privacy Commissioner has the tools to back them up in their decisions. We look forward to hearing what Nova Scotians think when this goes to public bills. Thank you.
Minister of Justice, it will be to close debate on second reading. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the comments of the opposition, and I look forward to further debate and to hearing from the public as this proceeds through future stages, and also to making additional comments. So with that being said, I rise to close second reading debate on Bill 150, the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
The motion is for second reading on Bill 150, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried.
Bill number 150, an act respecting the right of access to records of public bodies and the right of privacy with respect to personal information held by public bodies.
Ordered that the bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. I recognize Public Bills, thank you. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, would you please call order business, private and local bills?
Order of business, private and local bills. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, would you please call private and local bills for second reading?
Private local bills for second reading. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, would you please call Bill number 146?
Bill 146. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honour to rise to speak on Bill 146, an act to amend Chapter 90 of the Acts of 1915, an act to incorporate the Nook Canoe Club Limited, and to amend Chapter 285, Acts of 1903, an act to incorporate the Nook Canoe Club Limited. So this is a housekeeping bill, Madam Speaker. Currently, the Nook Canoe Club can only borrow up to $30,000, and this amendment will allow that club to borrow, raise, or secure the payment of money in such a manner as determined by Lake Banook. I know the members of the Banook Canoe Club have engaged with my colleague from Dartmouth North, so I look forward to hearing the comments from colleagues. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Dartmouth North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just want to rise for a moment and take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Banook Canoe Club, which is situated in Dartmouth North. I'm very pleased that the Minister and the member for Dartmouth East has brought this forward to assist the great people at the Canoe Club who are working very hard at a massive renovation, beautiful renovation at the club. I want to say when I became the member for Dartmouth North, one of my favorite things to do is to visit the Canoe Club on various occasions. I get my Christmas trees from the Canoe Club every year. Partly, the first time that I moved to Dartmouth, I partly did that because they were the only place that delivered and I didn't have a car. But hey, I went back year after year. It's my favorite place to visit at that time of year. I also, the impact that Bannock Canoe Club and the other canoe clubs on Lake Bannock on the community, the health and wellness of the community, the activity level of our young people and our not so young people is incredible. It's wonderful to take a little spin, walk the dog around the lake and see so many people out on the water. And Bannock Canoe Club has been an historical part of that tradition. The other day we were just there, the Minister and I and the Minister for Communities, Culture and Heritage and Tourism to hear about the fact that the lake will be hosting the 2026 ICF Junior and U23 Canoe Sprint World Championships, which is really exciting, and the Masters, the ICF Masters Canoe Sprint Championships next July. Again, Bannock and all the clubs will be instrumental, and I just can't say enough about the positive impact that the club has on Dartmouth. I think it's great that this change will be happening so that the board of directors and the club can borrow money as necessary to get the to maintain the club in its new beauty. Thank you very much.
If I am to recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth East, it will be to close debate on second reading. I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague from Dartmouth North for the remarks regarding the Bannock Canoe Club. Certainly, for those of us on that side of the harbour, the Bannock Canoe Club is very much, some would say, the heart and soul in many respects of our community of Dartmouth Cole Harbour. So, Madam Speaker, that being said, I now move to close debate on Bill 146. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 146, an act to incorporate Bannock Canoe Club Limited 1915 and to amend an act to incorporate the Bannock Canoe Club Limited 1903, an act to amend. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried.
Bill number 146, an act to amend Chapter 90 of the Acts of 1915, an act to incorporate Bannock Canoe Club Limited, and to amend Chapter 285, Acts of 1903, entitled An Act to Incorporate the Bannock Canoe Club Limited.
Ordered that the bill be referred to Standing Committee on Private and Local Bills. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, would you please call Bill number 155, an act to incorporate the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club, an act to amend.
Bill number 155, an act to incorporate the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club, an act to amend. I recognize the Honourable Member of Yarmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to speak to second reading of Bill number 155, the Act to incorporate the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club, an Act to amend. The Yarmouth Golf and Country Club is home to both Yarmouth Links and Curl Yarmouth. This is a 500-member recreation facility located in beautiful Yarmouth County. The club serves both its membership but also the entire region. This bill updates the name by dropping the country club title and moving to a more inclusive name, the Yarmouth Golf and Curling Center. Thank you very much.
If I am to recognize the Honourable Member for Yarmouth, it will be to close debate on second reading. The Honourable Member for Yarmouth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move we close debate on Bill 155.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 155, an act to incorporate the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club, an act to amend. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried.
Bill number 155, an act to amend Chapter 228 of the Acts of 1920, an act to incorporate the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club.
Ordered that this bill be referred to the Standing Committee on Private and Local Bills. I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, this concludes government business for today. I move that the House do now rise again and meet October 1st between the hours of 1 and 11:59. Following the daily routine and question period will be opposition business. After opposition business, government business will include committee of the whole and second reading. I'll hand it over to the Honourable Government House Leader.
I recognize the Honourable House Leader for the official opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For opposition business on October 1st, we will be calling Bill number 131, Privacy and Credit Protection Act, and resolutions 219 and 220.
The motion is that the House rise to meet again on October 1st from the hours of 1 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. Would all those in favor of the motion please say aye? Contrary-minded nay? The motion is carried. We stand adjourned.